And welcome back to 303. We are in the Unstoppable volume. We are on page 33, the lesson 11, chapter 11, Out of the Closet is the title here. And we'll be working now with a story that Mr. Conrad will tell of a student of his that is a quite compelling story. The focus here, however, and you may want to jot this down in your journals quickly, is this idea of finding out what you're passionate about and then following that passion. Find out what interests you and then follow those interests. Can I say this out loud without insult? A lot of times school is hard because they're asking me to do things I'm not interested in. I don't have any interest in the stuff they want me to do in school. So therefore, for me, school is a waste of my time. The Unstoppable philosophy says, wait, you're looking at it wrong maybe. Let's think about school from a different perspective. Let's read the story and see if we can get any sense of it. Not long after Jamie's midnight trek, you'll maybe remember Jamie was the cat who had promised he was going to walk 2 laps of the track every day, and that evening, right before midnight, it occurred to him he had forgotten and wasn't able to do it, and so he got up, you'll maybe remember, in his pajamas in the snow, and he walked the two laps. Some students read this and say, well, that guy needs to get a life. Other students read this and say, I wish I had that level of self-discipline to hold myself to a promise I made to myself. Not long after Jamie's midnight trek around the snow-covered track, he had a question for me. Quote, can I take your woodworking class independent study my senior year, he asked. My first response was, of course you can. Many others have. Normally, kids making huge or complicated woodworking projects sign up for independent study as a way to get another class period each day. I asked Jamie what he was going to make and was dumbfounded when he told me why he wanted the class. I couldn't believe it. Are you kidding me? I mused. In all of my years of teaching, I've never even heard of any kids doing that. Tell me again, why do you want to take this class? I want to play my guitar for an hour each day, Jamie said. He even said it with a straight face. I knew he had to be joking and said, get out of here. A few days later, he returned. He had the same request. I told him I couldn't help him. I can't play the guitar or read music. My advice was to talk to the band teacher. Now get out of here, I said, for the second time. I should have realized, after Jamie walked the track at midnight, in his PJs through the snow, just how disciplined and determined he was. I mean, in a way, I helped create this monster because he returned a third time with the same request. Before I had a chance to run him off again, in desperation, he quickly asked, Mr. Conrad, isn't it true you always say the most important project we work on isn't even made of wood? It's us. Yes, Jamie, that's true, I replied. Well then, I want to take your class independent study. I want to improve my guitar playing. I want my project to turn out as good as you do. Besides, the band teacher said no. You're my only chance, Mr. Conrad, please. Finally, I caved in. I should point out that Mr. Conrad has been noted to be a teacher who thinks outside of the box. And so he allows the student to do this. I think in part because of my secret wish to be a rock and roll star, I made Jamie promise me that if he should ever make it to the big time performing at some huge concert, I could get the chance to join him on stage. Even though I couldn't play an instrument or sing, I explained I wanted to be there. I'll play the tambourine, I told him. Deal, he said, and then he quickly ran out of my class before I had a chance to change my mind. That next year, the first day of class, there he was with his guitar. While the rest of the class worked on their projects, Jamie played his guitar. He quickly started sounding good, really good. Some days, he would play a song for class. Then one Friday, I decided to surprise and astound all my classes with a truly unforgettable and live Friday story. I began by reading to each class Paul Harvey's story, The Mouse That Roared. For those of you, by the way, who don't know the great Paul Harvey, he is one of America's greatest storytellers. If you want, you can Google him. It's a tremendous, tremendous journalist. He invented, in many ways, this idea of having some kind of a story that would then tell you something profound. Take a look. This wonderful story was about a second grade teacher, Mrs. Benucci, and her student, Stephen. Mrs. Benucci was determined to help Stephen discover the gift that God had given him. So with the aid of an unwitting mouse she had placed in the trash can, she asked Stephen to help her find it. Stephen asked the rest of the class to be super quiet. He then tilted his head from right to left. Stephen was drawn to the sound like a bee to honey. He's right in there, Stephen said, pointing to the trash can. "Well, well, well," said Mrs. Benucci. "He sure is. Little Stephen, you sure I wonder," exclaimed Mrs. Benucci. From that day on, that little blind kid would forever be known as Little Stevie Wonder. Mrs. Benucci helped little Stevie Wonder discover his gift. I told each class, "Now I'd like to tell you a story about another kid who discovered his gift right here in this very classroom." I told them. I then explained how Jamie took my class independent study, how he played his guitar every day for an hour. I explained in vivid detail how each day Jamie got better and better playing that guitar. Not only did he play the guitar, Jamie was building one from scratch in his advanced woodworking class. I even held up the instruction book for guitar building. It was over 300 pages thick. "If you follow your passion, it will take you places you have never dreamed of," I said. I like that line. Let's look at it again. "If you follow your passion, it will take you places you've never dreamed of." And if you listen very quietly, you can still hear him playing his song. I held my hand up next to my ear as if I were listening. Many of the kids started laughing at my gesture. Suddenly, from out of nowhere came the amplified electric sound of Van Halen. Kids looked frantically around the room for the source of the music, but they couldn't find it. I calmly walked over to the closet door, the same closet door where Jamie was patiently waiting for his cue. With his amplifiers hidden from view from his classmates, Jamie jammed away like nothing they had ever heard before. As I slowly opened up the closet door, I said, "Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce to you Jumpin' Jamie Mondu." And from out of the dark closet and into the limelight stepped Jamie. He literally became a living legend at school his senior year, playing his guitar at all the major sporting events. My personal favorite was his rendition of the Star-Spangled Banner at the Battle of the Bands. He played it Jimi Hendrix style with his guitar pick in his teeth. The crowd went ape afterwards. I was sitting there thinking, how cool is that? I was very proud to say he was in my independent study class. Jamie continued to work hard playing his guitar the rest of the year. He also worked very hard to complete the guitar he was building. It was one of the most challenging projects ever made in my class. The sweetest, most mellow notes came from that guitar, especially when Jamie played it. One day, early in the summer, when I had come home from my work, my wife told me there was something waiting for me in the dining room. When I saw what it was, I became weak in the knees and my eyes started to well up. I couldn't believe it. There, on a stand, sat Jamie's guitar, the one he had made, along with a 2-page thank you letter. Immediately after reading the letter, I called Jamie. I told him how much I appreciated his letter, but demanded he take back his guitar. "No way, Mr. Conrad," chuckled Jamie. "What I gave you is nothing compared to what you gave me. Thanks again." Jamie's guitar sits in my office, although it wasn't that expensive to make. Its value to me is priceless. Let's pause for a moment in your journals and just make a couple of quick observations in the form of questions. These are personal questions, but I think worthy of this chapter. What are you passionate about? Jot that one down. What are you, even if you don't know yet, jot down the question. What are you passionate about? What do you care deeply about? And then the second question, how could you begin to follow that passion, that interest? And finally, I'd like to make this observation. Maybe we can start to think of school differently. How about this? Why can't school be the place where we begin to discover our passion, what our interests are, and then begin the process of deciding how we will follow those passions? You might be interested in something we don't study in school, but you can begin the process of discovering your passion while you're in school, and then beginning to speak with people about how can I begin to discover my passion? What is it that I'm going to do with my life's energy? That is not the same thing necessarily as what my job will be, but maybe you can find a way to connect those two things. Dude, you got to work anyway for all these years. Why not do something that you enjoy doing as opposed to something that you have to do? Go and talk to a lot of adults and they will tell you, I do a job, but it's not the job that I'd love to do. Question, you're young. Why don't you begin to at least move in the direction of finding something that you could do with your life's energy and your life's work that would actually be fun or enjoyable for you? Well, there you go. Chapter 11, Mr. Conrad's Unstoppable Volume. Thank you.